Welcome to India House. And I know that you're waiting with bated breath for the program that we've got coming up for you. So let me start by bringing on the co-founder and CEO of Dream Sports, the man who's part of all our lives, Harsh Jain. Please come up on stage. Harsh has, of course, revolutionized sports in India, just the whole experience of watching sport and enjoying it. Harsh, welcome. CEO of the International Cricket Council, Geoff Allardice is here. Please, Geoff, if you could join us on stage. And we've got someone else. I don't really know how to introduce him because I think a few of you... Alright, so if that keeps happening, then he's not going to come up on stage. But yes, a certain gentleman by the name Rahul Dravid is here. And here he is. Rahul, a few people still want to see you. This is not you batting, but they still want to see you around here.
Yeah, thankfully we won, man.
You know, Geoff, we are here to talk about cricket at the Olympics. We'd never imagined that we'd see cricket at the Olympics, but it became a reality through a really time-consuming but hard process. There was the IOC session in Mumbai. You were around for that, where the final proposal went through. Mrs. Amani led it, who's led the entire exercise here at India House, and she was really the force behind it. Can you talk a little bit about what it took to get to this point and where we are with cricket and the Olympics movement?
You know, we were always talking about cricket. Wouldn't it be good if cricket was in the Olympics? But it just seemed like a lot of barriers in the way, and when we knew that Los Angeles was likely to host, not necessarily a cricket-playing country, it takes a long time to sort of build the connections and the relationships to be able to continually sell your message to the people around world sport. I think that cricket is starting to dawn on the global sporting community, and I think that's the step to include cricket in the Olympics in Los Angeles in 2028 was a culmination of a number of years of gradually getting that message across and using every forum and every contact to do that.
Rahul, by the way, actually when meeting the Prime Minister with the team, already put pressure on Rohit and Virat, saying they should be ready for that Olympic gold quest in 2028. I wanted to ask you in particular this question from the lens of being a player and a coach and someone who's been involved with the game for so long. You've been part of so many wonderful things in cricket, one series, now winning a World Cup. But when you come to an Olympics, is that something that tugs at your heart, saying, this is something I never experienced as a professional athlete, to be in an Olympic village, to be in an environment, and now cricket's going to be in that environment?
So you've grown up with the Olympics. I think if you've been a sports fan, if you've loved sport, as I have, we've grown up watching the Olympics. I mean, my earliest memories are of Carl Lewis winning Olympics and the television coming into India in those days, and all of us glued to those television sets to watch these great athletes perform and play, and so many of the Indian athletes as well, who've participated in these Olympic Games. And you always wanted to be a part of a great event. We have our great events in cricket. We have our World Cups, but they're individual events. They're only cricketers at those events. They're the greatest cricketers in the world who come together in one country to play those great events. But here, to be in this kind of environment, this kind of energy, this kind of vibe, it's a dream come true for any sportsman to be a part of that. And it always felt that cricket should be involved in events like this. It's truly a great game. It's followed and watched by so many people in the world. But it's just fantastic, from someone like me who's now really a fan. For me to be able to see and to see cricket in the Olympics that's going to be a part of this, I think it's truly phenomenal.
Let's talk about it again from your point of view, Cricket Olympics. Now, the way you've built the system around fantasy gaming. People talk a lot about that. Also around how fan engagement is the key to driving all of this. How, to your mind, Harsh, as an organization and as an individual involved in this ecosystem, does the growth towards becoming an Olympic sport move us in the direction of even greater engagement, even greater fan love for the game?
I think it's a big moment for India. It's a big moment for cricket. It's very important for cricket's development in the world. We have a lot more nations that can actually have a global event to look forward to. A lot more funding goes towards cricket at grassroots level because of that, led by ICC, of course. BCCI has done a phenomenal job in India. I think that, the other part of cricket that we haven't yet done a great job in, though, where we do lack a little bit behind other sports, is that the depth and breadth of cricket. And I think that that's something that all the bodies recognize and everyone's working towards it. Fan engagement is the first part with fantasy sports, with sports gaming. That's what appeals to the youth and they start playing. It's like you'll see a lot of the EPL players and La Liga players playing FIFA as professionals, right? They still enjoy their FIFA and they look forward to playing video games. We kind of forget sometimes that most of these professional athletes are in their early 20s and, some in their late teens. And they enjoy the video games and that's how they actively engage. For the rest of Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they need to engage with the sport in ways that they can understand. And those are the fan engagement moments. But we need a lot of work that goes into sports content, sports commerce, sports data. All of this for cricket needs to evolve. So we're working on sports content with Fan Code, with sports travel and experiences with Dream Set Go to get people to these kind of amazing experiences, with Dream Game Studios for gaming, and with analytics with our Columbia University. So my point is that until cricket starts getting more evolved in depth and breadth, I think, we're going to continue being behind some of the larger sports in the world. And Olympics is a perfect reason to get going with that.
You were there as coach, Rahul, of the national team. In the US, you played quite a few games. Some said the conditions in New York were a little treacherous and India probably could have done with a Rahul Dravid batting at 3 for them, navigating those swinging conditions. But talk a little bit about what your experience of playing cricket in the US was like and how you see that translating 4 years from now when the Olympic Games are played in the US itself.
Yeah, I think it was really good. I think, in terms of, I think it was a great effort on the part of the ICC to take the event to the US. There's a huge passion and for the game in the US. And, and it was really nice to be able to play in the US and some of those games were just packed. I mean, the India-Pakistan game, the India-US game. I'm sure Geoff and his team, would have learned from some of the experiences out there. There were some learnings on the actual cricketing facilities that were available, which I think is something that, you can take into the next cycle or into the next event 4 years later. So I think the potential is truly there in the US. It needs to be tapped into. It needs to be encouraged more and more. I think there's a great opportunity there, and especially for US cricket as well, to build on this success and really grow over the next 3 or 4 years, and to build on the facilities. I think one of the key things in cricket, I think, which is slightly unique, we are a unique sport in the sense that facilities make I think they make a difference in any sport. But especially in cricket, because it's turf and it's still one of the few sports that is played on a natural surface, to get that level of quality and to get that level of entertainment, that is the part that needs to be got right. And I think, we've learned, I'm sure ICC has learned a lot through this experience, which will only get better and better. But truly loved playing in the US, loved the effort that went into it. I think a top job done by the ICC on getting that there.
Well, that deserves a round of applause. Geoff doesn't get many of those, so here we go.
Yeah. This is just too uncomfortable. I'm going to
Please do. Would you like to throw it into the crowd?
I think can we have another Dada moment then?
One of the things that often gets talked about when we look at the work that you do, Harsh, is I often hear this line: convert the passive fan into an active fan. That's the motto that a lot of that you work with, or at least the guideline that you work with. Can you talk a little bit about how this is more than quite simply just getting on a phone and putting a team together and then watching how that team performs at the end of the day? I mean, that's one aspect of it. But there's much more to it, isn't it? And now with the Olympics, with this conversation becoming part of a much larger sporting universe, how do things change, and how do organizations such as yours begin to sort of invest in that more deeply?
Yeah, thanks. So look, like I said, as Rahul was also saying, that we have the 2026, 2027, 2028. These are all where Gen Z and Gen Alpha really start kicking in. That's the biggest audience, right? India has the largest young population in the world. And that's the population that's going to empower the entire sport in terms of viewership, in terms of merchandising, in terms of content. And I think that's someone we have to start appealing to. So I know that, I also don't belong to an age which finds, potentially playing video games also a sport with esports. But that's the world we live in, and we should be proud of it. And we should be proud that we can have now, with the Olympic esports also being announced, we will have Indian athletes who play video games as a sport. And we'll celebrate them as much as we celebrate the Indian cricket team. So I think we have to get with the times and keep growing, because there is a world out there that wants to engage with sports more than just a passive viewership, right? We've had the same passive viewership for like 50 years. It just moved from radio to, black and white TV to color TV and maybe on your phone now. But it was always passive. The audience doesn't want that anymore. We don't want the, passive viewership. We want to actively engage. We want to socially connect. We want to play with our friends. We want to engage with the sport much more deeply. We're going to see an advent of AR, VR coming into sports. You're going to be able to watch sport in your living room as if you were sitting between Virat and Rohit on the bench watching the World Cup being played, right? You're going to be able to witness sports like never before. You're going to be able to actually face Bumrah in your living room wearing a set of VR goggles, right? This is the future, and we have to have cricket leapfrog into that future, because that's where fans will connect. So I think that, like I said before, Olympics is a great step towards that. But cricket has a lot of catching up to do, and I'm very happy to see things like this. Now we have an India House, the first ever India House in the history of Olympics. And I think that's because of our government pushing sports forward very progressively. That's because of Reliance Foundation setting this up. It's because of so many corporates coming in. That's the final piece that I think will really push India forward, is not just the public sector, but even the private sector pushing the sport forward. And that's when I think the magic will happen.
Geoff, I wanted to ask you about a couple of things. One, Rahul alluded to it, the conditions that were put up in. It's difficult sometimes to ensure the ideal playing conditions that you want for a T20 game in venues that are not used to hosting T20. I'm sure you took learnings away from that. And number two is obviously playing cricket in the US means that you've got to play it at an hour which is prime time in India, and that, because that is the largest audience, and then playing a T20 game at 10:30 in the morning is perhaps not ideal. How cognizant are you? I mean, probably you are cognizant of this, but are there easy solutions to things like this, and what can you do to sort of overcome hurdles of this kind?
Yeah, the answer to that question is no. With any event, you're balancing a range of factors, and the recent one, yes, time zone conditions. I went to some games in the Caribbean at 10:30 in the morning, and it was hot and humid, and the crowds weren't as big as they were as when the matches were played in the evening. So you're always juggling the different competing interests when you're staging a tournament. And even when we look forward to Los Angeles, we've got some meetings coming up in the next, probably the next couple of months around the shape of the cricket tournament for for Los Angeles 2028. And those same factors will be, in consideration there. What's the venue, the number of teams? The one thing you know is you've only got 2 weeks to stage your cricket tournaments.
Yeah.
We know that we've got an identical men's tournament and a women's tournament. So, the issue of venues, the number of teams, the number of matches, the time of day, all of those, the qualification process is another one. We've got to make progress on all of those over probably the next two to 3 months.
Rahul, from your perspective, the experiences that you had in the US, obviously India is the marquee team at these tournaments. From a viewership perspective, playing games at 10:30 in the morning, what are your thoughts on how sort of scheduling? Also, you reference the conditions. If there's ways to make sure that you get more T20 friendly conditions so you can get games that are higher scoring and as a result more entertaining.
So I'm not really, I don't think starting at 10:30 to me honestly was a problem. I mean, we are in the entertainment business. We are in a business which has got to cater to the people who want to watch the sport. I mean, let us, I think I had absolutely no problem with it being at 10:30 in the morning. In fact, as a coach, actually it made the conditions quite even because a lot of times in the day-night games, dew becomes a huge factor and a toss can become a big factor, as we saw sometimes even in Australia. But at 10:30, that was not a factor. It was an even Stevens game for both players. So from a coaching perspective, in fact, I actually didn't mind the 10:30 game.
Harsh, just pick up on that theme from Rahul, and I wanted to actually, we've been talking about the very top of the world game, the elite athletes, we've been talking about a World Cup, we're talking about the Olympic Games, but one of the things that you work closely with is on even the more grassroots level. Have you seen that at the grassroots level, in smaller towns, in India, which you don't necessarily associate with as the big cricket centers, there's been that much more growth and drive towards the game?
Absolutely. I think, we all live in tier 1 cities and we don't realize that cricket is truly a game not for India but for Bharat. Right? Like, let me give you a small number from our stats, right? We have about 230 million people playing on Dream 11.
Yeah.
And out of the 230 million people, can you guess, it's fantasy sports. You need internet, you need a good connection, you need mobile. Guess how many people play from all the tier 1 and 2 cities combined, which are 115 cities in India. It's basically every city you'd normally go to. Everything beyond that are like smaller cities, towns, etc. 76% of 230 million users are people who use our app outside of every city you'd normally go to. So this is the real Bharat. And they're hungry for content. And you said when they're in entertainment business, right? You're absolutely right. Because for us sitting in tier 1, tier 2 cities, we say we're so bored, right? We have only the same restaurants and clubs and travel and all the same things around us. For tier 3, 4, 5 cities, their phone is like this world of entertainment that they have. And it empowers them to connect with the world in a way that we can't imagine. So I think it's amazing to see the way Jio also has opened up internet connectivity. Honestly, it's tailwinds for the entire industry. And we've been able to reach out to all of India. And all of India is now connected to cricket in a way that they haven't been before. So whatever we're doing touches India in every part, in every way.
Wonderful thoughts from everyone to end this on. I'll just give you guys 20 seconds each to finish up. Let me start with you, Harsh. If there's that one dream that you will have from the Olympics in 2028 with respect to cricket, what would that be?
One dream, 200 Indian athletes as compared to the 117
I meant
now.
just a cricket dream.
Oh, just a cricket dream? Rahul comes back and leads us to another gold.
That didn't even take 20 seconds. I think you have the endorsement of the House. Geoff, for someone who's going to be working very closely on this, the pressure's on you really, because you've got to deliver cricket to the Olympic Games. The one expectation, hope that you have for that Games?
I think cricket will be one of the star attractions in Los Angeles. I think it's, and just going around a few of the sports over the last few days, when you see the global stars of the big sports around the world, and here they are competing in the one city at the one time. If you're in Los Angeles and you can watch the best tennis players and then the best golfers and then the best cricketers, we belong on that stage, and I think we're going to be very, very strong come 2028.
And let's give the final word to Rahul Dravid.
I just think, I think Geoff said that really well. I think, for the dream for me would be to have a fantastic cricket tournament, which hopefully Indian women and women winning the gold, which would be nice. But more than that, I think, I would wish for everyone here and so many Indian fans to be able to come there and to Los Angeles and to support cricket and to show the rest of the world how big a sport cricket is and how great a sport cricket is.
Can't think of a better way to end this. I know if we had gone for about half an hour longer, that shirt would have been in trouble, and we may have had the most Instagrammable moment of all, but alas, I don't think we can ask Rahul Dravid to go there. Thank you very much to Harsh Jain, Geoff Allardice, and Rahul Dravid. If I can request you to please stand up for a photo opportunity, and we'd like a round of applause for our panelists.